Hey y'all, it's Taylor Grant with Bellator Claims. I'm here with an amazing guest who has an amazing mug. This is
Hey,
Erika Girard with Stonescape, and they're an amazing roofer, and she has such a cool story that I wanted to have her on the podcast to really explain some of these things, biggest victories that she's seen in her business. Some things like we've all made mistakes and we've all learned hopefully from those mistakes. And so maybe some things that she would do differently in her business. And then also like who is Erika really behind the business facade, right? I think a lot of us in this industry walk into a building or walk into a room and everybody knows us as our company, like Bellator or Stonescape, but they don't really know who we are. And that's part of the thing that I want to do here is yes, we want to talk about the victories. We want to talk about some of the things we've learned, but who are you really? And so I want to introduce Erika. Good morning. I hope you
good
are doing
morning.
fantastic. Thank you so much for being on here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So, are you ready to just dive in?
Let's dive in.
Let's do it. So, ultimately, let's talk about this. One of the things that I love talking to contractors, roofers about is your biggest project or your biggest victory, something that you're really proud of. The thing that when you drive past it, you're like, I did that. Something so fun and like so big that you kind of brag to your friends or your kids about that. Let's start there. Does something come to mind regarding that?
Absolutely. So I have a few
Okay,
over the
cool. Let's talk
years,
about it.
but I would say my number one would be my girls went to a private Christian school in Iowa, Rocky Mountain Christian Academy. And, they were in a situation where the insurance company basically went out there and denied their claim. And there was hail damage just all over it. And
The Stevie
uh,
Wonder hail, that's what we call it, right? Like even
that's what we call it,
Stevie.
right? Well, the first time they go out there and deny it, then the second time we bring them out and they deny the roof, but then they buy like $200,000 worth of AC units and call that hail damage. And we're just like, thank you very much for that open
Right,
door,
right.
right? And but then it was just a fight because it was a certain church insurance company that's notorious for denying.
You and I both
And
know that.
we got anyway, what ended up happening was that we went and I apologize. So anyway, we went out there and we wrote up our estimate. We brought out a clause expert, and you know we took it to litigation and we hired attorneys for them, and it ended up being a 2-year fight with the insurance company. However, what we did instead was the church actually pulled out some equity in their mortgage, paid us for the roof that we had replaced. And it was a gorgeous tile roof. We had removed all of it, ended up putting a stone coated steel roof on there,
Nice.
and then did a 20-year NDL on all of the flat roofing
Right.
because we knew that the flat roofing was going to be more of a problematic situation. And so
Sure.
with that being said, that roof is absolutely a statement piece for
Nice.
Stonescape. We pass it all the time. It was about 900 squares of stone coated steel, absolutely gorgeous. We went with a Decra panel. And then, like I said, about 300 squares of flat roofing for the coating.
Yeah.
And then we painted the steeple and the cross and, did gutters and just really gave it a facelift, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And when you look on my website, that's what one of our largest jobs is on our website.
Yeah.
And um we're kind of known for going around and taking care of churches because they are either always under denied, or I'm sorry, under insured or denied whenever there are just
Yeah. Th-
so
That's
um
true, right?
that's one of my biggest success stories there, because even after they pulled out that mortgage loan, about a year later, their claim came to fruition and they were paid for it. So
That's awesome. And I
yes.
love hearing that. So let me just kind of dive into that for a second. Why do you think these insurance companies deny these legitimate claims? Like that obviously was legitimate because they got paid. right? That's
Right,
how I look at it. Insurance
right,
companies, if it's not a legitimate claim and you go through that process, either with a public adjuster or insurance appraisal or litigation attorney, right? An insurance litigation attorney, if you go through that process and nothing comes out of it, then you're like, oh, well, we were wrong. But if you go through that process and then you get paid on the claim that should have been paid 2 years previous, like,
right.
obviously a legitimate claim. So, like, what are you seeing in the industry happening in situations like that? That this church obviously should have been paid, but wasn't.
I would say number one is fear-based, right? Especially for churches,
Right.
they don't necessarily believe in suing or fighting, right? Their insurance
Right.
companies, based off of principle. They just believe that, they pay their insurance and their insurance company is gonna take care of them. And
Weird, right?
wow, right? Shocker that that's not necessarily the situation. And
Right.
when you're talking about, millions of dollars worth of damage in a claim, insurance companies, they're a business just like anybody else, and they
Right.
like to collect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And pay out minimally whenever they need to, because they're a profit company as well.
Right.
And they like to see that bottom line at the end of the year.
Mhm.
So I would say first off, would be fear-based when it comes to insurance companies and
Yeah.
their clients. Um, I would also say an experience, right? And unfortunately, if your clients are not educated on the process and how it works, there's an issue there. So my team and I, we focus truly on educating our clients from the very beginning
Right.
of the process all the way through. We let them know right up front, that this is our heart and our goal is to get everything as smooth as possible and awarded, in the beginning. However, there could be, issues of denials and re-inspections and
Right.
third parties that have to come in.
Mhm.
And that's okay, right? But it's all about setting proper expectations with your clients and making them truly understand the entire, process from start to end.
Right.
Um,
Well,
as far as, oh,
I
go
think
ahead.
that's really important. And so I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper on that is the education piece, because I know a lot of insureds have no idea, right? Like I lived
Right.
in my house for 16 years before I made a claim
Wow.
ever. And guess what the
Wow.
insurance company tried to do to me? The same thing
Denied.
they did to everybody else, like underpay me by like $20,000 on a residential claim, right? And ultimately, we won. They didn't know who I was and never asked, but trust me, we won that. But really, the education piece is so important. Like, what do you guys do specifically to help educate the insured to understand this process? Because it is so confusing, right? Like, if you do this once every 15 years, it's not
Right.
in your memory. You're not doing it daily, right? So, like,
Agreed.
what do you guys do to take that task on to really help the insured?
I would say the first thing we do is stay up on top of our education and with my team. So product knowledges and insurance, whether that be you or insurance agents
Right.
or insurance underwriters, we bring in quite frequently to just keep us informed because laws change all the time. Um, but if my team is truly educated correctly and can communicate that education to our homeowners and our business owners, it starts at home, right?
Sure.
Education starts at home.
Yeah.
Secondly, in training all the time, continue training. I have men who have worked for me for over 10 years and sometimes they get stuck in their ways and they're like, we know everything. Well, our industry is ever evolving, right? And
100%. Yeah.
so with that being said, so is their education. And
Right.
so I started home with that. And then it's just honestly having a conversation with the homeowner and explaining to them, look, we're the professionals. We do this day in and day out.
Right.
In my presentation folders, especially with large loss commercial claims,
Hmm.
I just literally lay out, I give them examples of past jobs that we've done, kind of where the process started in the beginning,
Yes.
where our estimate fell in line, and then where they paid out finally at the very end of it. And
Right.
I show them on paper other claims and how it works and the process of what that kind of looks like for them.
Right.
And if it is a large commercial project, there's going to be times where it's going to happen 85% of the time. I have another job right now where it is a specialty roofing system that is metal and polycarbonate. And I literally am the only contractor on the Front Range who is certified to install this roofing system.
Nice.
And the insurance company first denied. We took it to appraisal. They opened up a little bit of coverage, paid us like 17,000. It was absolutely insane whenever you really got down to the nitty gritty of how the system is actually installed.
Right.
And not only was it an OSHA compliance problem on having to take a center piece out of the middle of this polycarbonate roof for safety reasons, but then again, you're ruining, right, the screw pattern, you're ruining the tenacity of the actual metal that we're replacing and removing. And so with that being said, what we did was we hired an appraiser. They went to town with their appraiser, ended up having to have an umpire come in, which great. My client was very much on the same page and understood that process as well.
Good.
Came in, well, here in the state of Colorado, you only have to have 2 signing parties. So our appraiser and the umpire agreed on the entire claim to be paid out at like 1.6 million. And then whenever it got pushed through to the carrier turned around and hired attorneys to say that basically their appraiser did not agree and there was fraudulent activity involved.
Right.
So it took us, we had to hire attorneys, our client had to hire attorneys. And then just this last week, everybody goes to court, everybody's subpoenaed on it, and the judge looks at the insurance company and the appraiser and says, I cannot believe you acted in bad faith like this.
Yeah.
Not only am I honoring this entire claim, and you owe that 1.6 plus inflation from 2 years ago when they originally gave you this estimate, but now you owe them for a bad faith claim, and now you're gonna owe them for lost wages in their company for the
Whoa,
last.
that's so awesome.
So, you know,
The process works, right?
that's how it works, but just education and letting them know, hey, it's probably going to get a little sticky whenever we're looking at buildings like this.
Especially like a specialty roofing system like that. And you know what I tell most people that I see on my side as a public insurance adjuster is that when you hit like $100,000 in claim amount, it starts becoming a little bit more rigorous, and the insurance companies make it more difficult on purpose. They'll send out an engineer to tell you everything that you already know, and you agree with them. But that, you know, that path kind of continues regarding a claim that's over a certain dollar amount. The insurance companies are trying to keep the money, just like you said, which is fine, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And so for us as public insurance adjusters or insurance appraisers, you know, I always tell the insurance company or adjusters is like, hey, if you did your job, I wouldn't have a job. Simple as that, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's really interesting where that kind of goes when we're involved, because those guys know it. And so we've gotten things that they're like, we're not going to pay that, we don't owe for that, and then all of a sudden we get a check for $95,000 because they did owe for it, right? And so it's nice. But I think what you said specifically is educating them up front, letting them know the expectations of what's going to happen, and then really just telling them to be patient. And so I've told this to so many large loss clients. We have a shopping mall down in Colorado Springs. It's about a $6 million claim, right? And I said, look, it's going to be difficult. The insurance company's already pushing back. We've already won multiple millions of dollars above and beyond what they wanted to pay. However, when it gets to this place, it's going to be pretty slow. Okay. However, be patient, because if you're patient, we're usually going to win. Like, I'm not going to push something that I don't think I'm going to win. You know, how I look at it is, if I'm standing in front of the judge, like you just talked about, and the judge asks me about the claim, if I can't defend my position, I have no position. So if we're at this place, then absolutely, we're going to continue to push it forward and win. And so I'm happy for your clients. I'm happy for you guys. You know, sometimes you just have to push back, because part of the insurance restoration industry game is they want you to give up. They want the insured to give up. They want to make it so stressful and hard for them that they're just like, you know what, screw this, I'm done, I'll just pay out of pocket. Like, no, that's what they want you to
Oh,
do. Don't let them win, right? So
absolutely. And I would also say good contractors, even through this 2 years that we, even with the church as well,
right,
right? Once you understand that you're going to have to go to, an attorney or litigation or, hire certain professionals to come in and fight your fight with you.
right,
And it does take that long, to prepare for an actual judgment to be, paid out.
right,
A good contractor is going to come beside their client and they are going to mitigate damages throughout that process
right,
for no money, right? So
right,
there have been times that I have literally pookied and repaired and just glopped on product just to
right,
stop leaks. It doesn't have
right,
to be pretty. It doesn't have to, it just has to work for the time. And it might only last for 3 months. It might only
right,
last for a month, depending
yeah,
on our weather and what we're dealing with.
right,
But to take care of that client and to put good faith in and let them know that you are fighting that good fight with them and that you have just as much in stake as they do,
right.
it's kind of like you're gaining, absolutely, you're gaining trust with them and you're gaining a relationship that once it does get to that payout, here's your money, contractor,
Right,
right?
right. And that goodwill, a lot of times people don't even really realize it, but you guys just do that naturally. And because you're building these relationships with your clients and doing what we call the right thing and building that goodwill, right? In the
Right,
background behind that is in our world, right? Is the duty to mitigate the damage, right?
yeah,
And so
absolutely.
if you're like, listen, if you're watching this podcast and you're not working with a contractor that is doing the right thing, hit Erika up because she will. The thing is this is like she's just doing the right thing, but in the background behind all of that, there's this requirement of you as the insured to make sure you're mitigating damages by doing temporary
Yes.
repairs because the insurance company doesn't owe for damages above and beyond that because you didn't take care of your property. And if you don't have a contractor that's helping you with that, that's a tough spot to be in. So kudos to you, Erika. I know you guys are always doing the right thing, but that is absolutely vital when we step into the process of a claim that's already in progress. Where are you
Right.
at? And then we have to make sure that we're meeting what's called the duties after loss. And there's a section, and it's usually like 8 different things. Some of
Mhm.
them apply, some of them don't, but we have to make sure, like, hey, are we meeting all the requirements of the insured for the
Right.
claim? And by you guys doing that, you're helping us and you're helping the insured. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. So good work.
Thank
Now
you.
to kind of like switch gears a little bit, we've
Yeah.
all been in business for a while. How long have you been in business? And tell us about your company a little bit. And then I'm going to talk about some of the lessons that you've learned along the way.
Absolutely. So we've been in business for about 7.5 years. Started, what's so funny is when I first moved here, I worked for I worked for a company out of Texas, and
Okay.
I lived in Estes Park and I homeschooled my children. I worked from
Cool.
home. I went to church once a week and I went to the grocery store once a week. My life was very simple. And
Yes.
then there was a true need for a good metal roofer here on the Front Range at the time. There was only one other one, and
Yeah.
they serviced the South, south of Denver and Colorado Springs. So, um, I've been in roofing now for 18 years. It's a
That's
passion of
great.
mine. I
Yeah.
love it. Whenever I talk about roofing, I get everybody jazzed because I love roofing. I love exteriors. I
Yeah.
love to
And
make
you
something
have this amazing
beautiful.
energy. Like when you and I hang out, I think we both are just like, this is awesome, right?
This is awesome. We plan for an hour and we're there for 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
So
Sorry to throw you off. Continue on.
yeah, so yeah, I've been in business for 7.5 years. Originally, when I first started, it was out of the Estes Park,
Cool.
like I said, and then I couldn't get good internet reception anywhere. If you know anything about Estes, it's so crappy. And
Yes.
so, I mean, it's beautiful to live in, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but business out
Lot-
there is
Lots,
not the greatest.
lots of elk, not good reception.
Absolutely. So, we ended up going to Longmont, and that's where we got our first office space. And,
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm very frugal at the time because I'm just, I'm the owner, I'm the guarantor on the company. For me, failure's not an option. And so I kind of started the way I foresaw me ending, and that was just, I'm gonna do everything in a cash basis and what I have. So I started off very small in a little bitty office in Longmont in a shared space. And by the time I was 4 years in, we had rented the entire upstairs of this office space and then two of their, buildings down there for storage and such. And so our company really did grow, and it was blessed, and had really amazing people that worked for us. And
Yeah, it's a big part of it.
it's a huge part of it. You are only as good as the team that you surround yourself with.
Right.
And I will tell you, if you look at my actual like employee HR boxes, I will tell you, I am slow to hire and quick to fire. I will literally go through and I will interview you 2 or 3 times. And if you're a good fit, you're a great fit, and generally you're gonna stay. I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. However, I will tell you that people problems. Let's just talk about people, right?
Definitely.
People will schmooze you. People will tell you everything under the sun that that you want to hear. And I used to say that God blessed me with discernment, and I do believe that He has. But at the same time, when you have somebody who's just as lively as you and just will tell you the world, and then you get them in here and you're like, hold on, where's the person I interviewed, right? So I've learned a lot just about people and what
Yeah.
makes them tick and how they operate. And I'm a firm believer that your talk is your talk and your walk is your walk.
Right.
And I now have people who interview with me, and I only interview for my managers. And then my managers interview for the ones under them.
Cool.
And so I'll help with the hiring process of people.
Yeah.
I do not assist in the firing portion of Stonescape anymore. We have somebody who does that, who's a little bit more politically correct, maybe at times, right? Because
I
Erica's
love
like,
that.
oh,
You're like, you really thought about it. You're like, okay, how am I going to say this? But I love it. I love it. So absolutely, I think people are an amazing and like integral part of any business. And I totally agree. The people that are in your team are going to be a reflection of what you are in the marketplace for your business, right? And so I was actually having dinner with a friend last night, and we were talking about how someone on her team, totally unrelated business, different business. And we were just talking about it, and this person on her team was kind of starting some crap, and it was like destroying her company. And I said, one of my favorite quotes is, a boat doesn't sink because the water on the outside, a boat sinks because the water on the inside, right?
absolutely.
And like, it can be a whole ocean on the outside, but as long as you're tight and put together properly, like, you can take on anything, right? So I definitely appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say this, when it comes to people, I've learned a lot throughout my years. I no longer make decisions based out of fear. And
Yeah.
I no longer make decisions in my business based off of feelings, right?
Right.
Money is money, numbers are numbers, time is time,
Yes.
profit is, loss. I mean, it all at 1 + 2 = 3, right? And so at the end of the day, I'm not going to make a decision because I'm scared of what somebody's going to say or what somebody's going to do.
Right.
It is what it is, and either you are who you are or you're not who you're not. But
Right.
you are not going to come into my company, create division, become a cancerous person.
Yeah.
We have a saying here that says, you are allowed to vent up. Okay, so if you are somebody in the company who has a problem, you may take it to somebody who is in a higher position than you are, or take it straight to me because ultimately I'm the decision maker.
Right.
And you only vent up. If you could, those are the only people who can truly help you or
Yes.
assist in a problem, right?
That's right.
And so you're not going to go to the person who is either equal of you or, somebody who is maybe in another position that might be technically a little bit lower than you, and vent to them, because now you're just truly causing issues,
Right.
and they can't help you, right? They can either sympathize with you or they can encourage you to go to the person who can fix it. So we
Exactly.
talk about that quite frequently.
Well, that's great. And I love that saying is vent up, right? Because you're right. People tend to do the opposite because they want to commiserate. But if you want to truly solve the problem, vent up and let's talk about it and fix it, right? So I love that.
Absolutely.
I can see definitely why you have been so successful. And if you remember, like I've known you guys since you were in the Longmont office, right?
Yes,
So I've seen you both,
absolutely.
and you've seen me on the come up as well, which is awesome. And
Absolutely.
it's been this symbiotic relationship, which I truly appreciate. Thank you so much. And so, what I want to do is I want to really talk about who is Erika behind the company, like. Who are
Yeah.
you and what do you want to be remembered as, maybe from your employees, colleagues, the marketplace, your children, your family? Like, what does that look like for you as a woman in the industry? PS, I understand that March is International Women's Month, right? I think you guys celebrated that at National Women in Roofing, and I've been blessed to come in and do some trainings for you guys, which I appreciate. Thank you for having me. But tell me who you really are behind the business.
So, that's been a great question. I'm actually rebuilding that person and deciding who she really is going to be. I will tell you that there are some core values in me that will never waver. And I am I'm a very black and white person, not very much color with me, especially to be living in colorful Colorado, right? I will tell you that I am who I am. I say what I say and I do what I do. But
Oh,
at the end of the day, there's still a vulnerable side to me. I am a
sure.
mother of two beautiful girls. One is 14 and one is 9. They are polar opposites of one another. However, they both have a lot of their mama in them. And
Sure.
I am from the South. I have a lot of conservative values when it comes to my family.
Sure.
And I am the person who is showing these young ladies what it's like to first be a woman and a mother, but at the same time, you can be a boss as well, a boss lady,
Right.
and you can do both, right? And so I've always taken that pride in explaining to them that if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you are more than welcome to do that. And if you want to be a mother and a business owner, you can do that as well. And
Right.
if you don't want children and you don't want to be a mom, you can just be a business owner or whatever it is that you want to do in your
Right.
life, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, first and foremost, I'm a mom and it's my greatest joy. It's what God blessed me with. And if I fail there, I feel like I failed at life. And I feel like every parent has that time where they believe that they have failed. And
Sure.
if you don't, you might want to look in the mirror a little bit harder,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Are you even parenting if you don't have those conversations with yourself, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and then it just comes down to Erica as a person. So I love to have fun. I like to work hard and play hard. I like to travel. I like to have experiences. There's a reason why I own my own company, and that is not to necessarily be an employee who's stuck here, but to create, a place and a lifestyle that has been quite rewarding. So my children, they've been educated by the best of the best, in my opinion. They've got to travel and have certain experiences that most don't. They
Right.
get to have conversations and meet people that they probably wouldn't have if we didn't take this road together. But ultimately, I am still, outside of being a boss, I am just a woman who is still growing and still understanding what life is going to look like in the future. And it's ever evolving as well, just like the roofing industry.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to be where I'm at. I'm grateful for the people in my life. Everybody tells me, Erica, do you know who you're going to be in 10 years? He said, look at the people you surround yourself with, right?
Right.
And so I keep my circle very small.
Mhm.
And I look at people in my life, and I don't necessarily know that this is right or wrong, but it just happens to be who I am. And I look at people like assets and liabilities, okay?
Right.
And let me explain to you what I mean. Either
Please.
you are a true asset to somebody's life and to, where they are in their life at the moment, or you are a liability to them. Either you bring people up or you tear people down.
Right.
And for me, if you're not an asset, why would I want you in my life, right?
Wow.
Because I am going to be an asset to you, whether
Well,
that be for a reason or a season.
right. And so I think you bring up a good point, especially as we continue to mature and grow as who we are as people, right? And I love that you were talking about like growth and expansion. I always tell my children that, in my life, for you, it's to help you grow and expand and become the best version of yourself. And
Absolutely.
to that point, as far as assets and liabilities in the Wake Up Warrior program that I've been in for, shoot, I think going on 8 years now, it's we talk about creators and takers. Same thing, right?
Right.
What are you creating to bring value to the world, including me and anybody around you? Or how do I create that value and shine the light in other people's lives? Or am I taking? Am I constantly just taking, right? And it's got to be a two-way
Absolutely.
street. And so, yeah, I mean, it gets very tiring when you just hang out with takers all the time because their energy is just sucking energy from you versus
Yes.
punishing you and like making you better and bigger and brighter, right? So I
Right.
totally feel that, and I totally agree with that. So as we wrap this up, is there anything that you want us to know or share with us in regards to your business, your personal life, or any advice that you'd give to maybe somebody that's starting a business in this industry? Maybe not necessarily roofing, but maybe it's just restoration. And especially being a woman, you have a different perspective than we do as men in the industry, because I think for the vast majority, this is a very male dominated industry.
Of
What are your thoughts
course.
on that?
So I love that I am a woman-owned business in a
Yeah,
man-dominated industry.
sure.
I believe that, first off, I went and did an Owens Corning, walkthrough of their plant the other day, and the Gerard who kind of runs this division out here, he looked and he said, Erica, I have never in over 15 years seen this many women on a tour in this roofing industry. And there were so many of us, we had to break it up into 2 days.
Wow.
And I will tell you, I believe that there is so I believe there's a time and a place, right? That men are absolutely needed in our industry. Women are not here to take over. We are here to be a helpmate, right? We are
Right.
here to assist. So it's like y'all are the head and we're the neck, right? So I believe that we just have certain qualities about ourselves that
Right.
set us apart a little bit different, where men might overlook these detailed principles. Women are actually really good at coming in and saying, hey, there's a gap here. Hey, there's a hole here, right? Or
Right.
even just holding certain people to a higher standard, right?
Right.
So I love being a woman and knowing sometimes more than what most men do in the roofing industry. But number two, just being able to stand on my own 2 feet and say, hey, yes, I am this person, but I'm also this person over here, right? So yes, I would say being in a man-dominated industry, I love it. And I think we're not competitors, right? And that's what I explain whenever I sit with my NWIR ladies. Like, we are here to educate, we are here to mentor, we are here to grow as an industry. And there's so much work out there for everybody. I am not your competitor. So if you have a question or you have a problem or a concern and you don't know what to do, because I didn't know what to do all the time either. When I first started, I made so many errors. Number one, I was chasing, pennies out the back door as dollars were walking out my front. So
Mm,
sometimes it's better just to bite the bullet,
yeah,
own responsibility of whatever the situation might be. And
right,
yeah, you might lose $1,000. But what did you gain with your integrity, your honor, your reviews, just who you are, right?
right.
So yeah, there's been a lot of learning
Yeah.
and experiences along the
So
way.
there's two things that I want to bring up that you said is yes, there's a level of competition in the industry, right? But really what I think you're bringing is the idea of cooperation and really being able to help one another. And I've seen this firsthand, so I want to commend you on that. I remember being at the NWIR training that you had invited us to, and there's probably what, like 20-ish women there, and you had just stood up and said, "Hey, if you guys need help with anything, you can always reach out to me and I will help you." And I think some people in there were like, "Why would she help me?" But like that's truly your heart. So that is awesome. And so the second thing is being a father of a daughter, we need strong women, right? Our daughters need strong women. So I appreciate that because that's who I think you are to your family, but also to your company. And now you are pushing as a leader in the industry.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, you've
Thank
been awesome. So thank you so much for
you.
being on this podcast with me
Absolutely.
and sharing some of your heart and your experiences and telling us more about who you are behind the industry. So if you're watching this podcast and you like it, please share and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Anything you want to finish off with?
I appreciate you and your time. Thank you for having me. And if I could give just one last piece of advice,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
be you, be true to yourself. Don't look at all of the fancy and all the glitter and all of the diamonds, right? That's in our industry. Sometimes people will steer you wrong, and stay true to who you are, walk your walk, and you will be blessed.
Amazing. On that note, we're ending the podcast. Thank you for joining us.